Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving into a really fascinating quirk of the human mind today. Have you ever noticed how your behavior can just completely shift depending on where you are and who you're with? Like, it can almost feel like we're wearing different masks. But are we actually being fake, or is there something deeper going on? Let's unpack the psychology behind what we're calling the chameleon mind. So, Dr. Arundhati Hoskeri poses this really brilliant question, and it's one that kind of makes you stop and think. When people change their behavior for a crowd, are they just being completely fake, or are they simply adapting? I mean, it is so easy to judge someone when they act like a totally different person around a new group of friends. But as you'll see, the answer is actually deeply wired into our biology. You've absolutely seen this, right? Think about it. You might know someone who is the life of the party, super confident, insanely talkative when you're hanging out on the weekend. But then, the absolute second they step into a corporate meeting, they shut down. They become totally quiet and reserved. Or, maybe they're endlessly patient at the office, but the moment they get home, they're irritable. Are they hypocrites? Well, not necessarily. Section 1. The myth of fake behavior. Why human actions aren't fixed. Okay, so we constantly fall into this trap of thinking that our personality is just this rigid, unchangeable thing. But there's this core psychological concept called the interplay of person and situation. Basically, it means your behavior is a huge mix of your own identity, your physical surroundings, who you're hanging out with, and whatever the moment actually demands of you. So shifting your behavior doesn't mean you're being inconsistent at all. It actually just highlights our incredible, deeply human capacity to adapt to our environment. Section 2. Inside the chameleon brain. The neuroscience of adaptation. Let's actually zoom into the microscopic level. What is happening in your head the literal second you walk into a brand new room? Well, your brain immediately starts running this rapid-fire checklist. Without you even realizing it's happening, your brain is asking, am I safe here? How should I behave? What are the consequences if I mess up? What's expected of me? It's literally functioning like a high-speed radar, constantly scanning for rewards and threats in real time. And the wild part is, different areas of your brain tackle these questions in completely different ways. You've got the prefrontal cortex, which is sort of the logic center. It handles judgment and self-control, desperately trying to keep your behavior aligned with normal societal standards. But then you have the amygdala. This is your internal alarm system. It processes fear and anxiety, and it's what triggers those really cautious, defensive responses the second we feel threatened. Actually, scratch that. It's not even just about brain structures. We're talking about a massive chemical cocktail, too. Things like cortisol and adrenaline absolutely dictate whether you feel relaxed. When you feel safe, your stress hormones drop, right? You can finally be your authentic, goofy self. But the second you face an unknown or stressful situation, those chemicals spike big time, forcing you to either withdraw into a shell or go on the defensive. Section 3. The power of social roles. Wearing different hats. Now, let's zoom back out to everyday life. Every single day, you are navigating this insanely complex web of social expectations. Think about it. In just a few hours, you might bounce from being a parent, to a spouse, to an employee, to a friend, and then maybe a leader. You could be perfectly disciplined at your desk at 2 p.m., but completely loud and spontaneous with your friends at 7 p.m. You aren't being fake. You are quite literally just wearing different hats based on the room you're standing in. Social psychologists have a specific term for this. They call it role-based behavior. This is simply the unconscious adjustment of your actions to perfectly fit the expectations of whatever situation you're in. And why do we do this all day long? Because, at our core, we are highly social creatures. We have this massive, fundamental drive for belonging and acceptance within our tribe. Section 4. Family Dynamics and Survival. The Jumping Monkey Syndrome. Let's look at how this plays out in families, because it gets super interesting here. There's this quote. Children often learn early that their emotional safety depends on pleasing that parent. When there's a highly dominant, maybe even narcissistic figure in the house, kids instinctively adopt. It's pure survival. They naturally seek approval and protection from whoever holds the most power in the room. So how does this cycle of emotional dependence actually form? It usually happens in 3 steps. First, the child unconsciously figures out exactly who the dominant parent is. Second, they align with that parent to avoid any sort of conflict, quickly learning that playing along brings safety. And third, over time, they adopt some serious people-pleasing behaviors just to survive the environment. It is a profound adaptation, but the crazy part is it often carries right over into their adult marriages and relationships. Section 5. Hidden influences on behavior. history, and internal states. Our behavior is also heavily shaped by unseen influences, even historical narratives. Dr. Hosgear shares this amazing story about her high school history teacher, Sister Christella. She would spend 30 minutes teaching the dry facts, but then she'd deliberately spend the last 10 minutes sharing these incredibly profound historical stories, like the dying wishes of Alexander the Great. Those early inspirations, those deep narratives, they spark curiosity and literally shape the way we absorb and interact with information for the rest of our lives. And hey, let's not forget the stuff that happens to us every single day. Temporary behavior modifiers. I'm talking about stress, fatigue, illness, and of course, hunger. I mean, if you have ever completely snapped at someone just because you skipped lunch, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These invisible temporary states can make the exact same person seem like a saint one day and an absolute monster the next. It's not a fundamental flaw in their personality. It's literally just a temporary dip in their mental and physical fuel tank. Section 6. Empathy, forgiveness, and freedom. Releasing the burden. So what does this all mean for us? Well, grasping all this science basically allows us to stop making harsh snap judgments and lean heavily into empathy. Think about holding a grudge like carrying around a massive backpack filled with heavy stones every single day. Every stone is a resentment. The longer you carry it, the more exhausted you get. Forgiveness? It's simply the act of taking that heavy backpack off, dropping it on the floor, and finally finding your emotional freedom. Now, hold up. I want to be incredibly clear here. Forgiveness absolutely does not mean excusing unacceptable behavior, and it certainly doesn't mean you shouldn't set firm boundaries to protect yourself. It simply means you are actively choosing not to carry the soul-crushing burden of resentment anymore. Holding on to anger, it only punishes you. Setting the bag down sets you free. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. The next time you're about to label someone, before you write them off as being fake or completely inconsistent, just pause and ask yourself, what situation are they adapting to right now? It's a real game changer. Keep that in mind during your next tricky conversation. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep observing the world around you, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.